There is something unseen or subtle that defines the quality of a space. Of course, there is a design element, but what is that intangible design quality and how do I get that into a space? Stay tuned. From the time I can remember, I have always loved beautiful spaces. I would spend hours flipping pages of design magazines, looking at homes, offices, TV sets, and architecture of beautiful buildings around the world. I would even collect these little small shoeboxes and cut them out and create my own buildings and rooms to style. This one time, I visited my grandmom in New Delhi. I might have been maybe 9, 10 years old. She took me to my uncle's house. He is an architect and he lived on the second floor of this building. As we walked into his home, I was mesmerized by his house, the interiors, the walls, the crystals, the style, the beautiful accessories they had. Not just that, even though their home and apartment was so small, the way they had arranged their furniture, it was very non-traditional. It didn't follow the straight lines of the walls, but nonetheless, it looked so beautiful. I felt like I was in heaven. Each part of their house that I went to, my aunt always had a story to share about where she found that item or that piece of art or the accessory. The entire time I was there, it felt so special. I just did not want to leave. Now, as is customary, when you visit family back home, my grandmother next took me to visit my other uncle's house, who lived in the same building, but one level below. It had the same apartment layout, and it was in the same building, and it had the same architecture, so to speak. As we walked into this uncle's house, this house was equally stylish. It had some of the most expensive things from around the world. But there was one thing that was strange. Even though we walked into this really beautifully well-decorated house and space, I just felt very strange. As a 9 or 10-year-old girl, I couldn't put a finger on that feeling, but all I knew was I just wanted to get up and leave. This confused me so much. How come that this home has got some of the most beautiful things I have seen, maybe even more beautiful than the home of my uncle upstairs, but nothing under the sun could keep me in there? Both of these homes were so lavishly done and really well set up. And if I were to see the photographs of both of these homes in an interior design magazine, I wouldn't have been able to tell the feeling of either place from that photograph. You had to be there to experience the feel of the space. This was the very first time that I realized that there is something unseen or subtle that defines the quality of a space. And thus began a new investigation in this young girl's mind. From then on, every time I visited a space, I would of course look at the styles and the decor and the pieces and the architecture and where the windows were and how the lights was, but I began to pay attention to one more thing. How does this space feel? For the last over 20 years, I have been so fascinated by this subtle energy and quality and feel of spaces. And I have been so fortunate to have worked with and learned from some of the most amazing minds today. Of course, there is a design element, but what is that intangible design quality and how do I get that into a space? It is way beyond mood lighting and the fragrances and the smells in the space. We human beings are beautiful bioenergetic beings. We of course have a physical body, but if you look at a Kirlian photograph or a GDV visualization of a human body, you will see this bioenergetic body that surrounds us. We have a physical body, an emotional body, an intellectual body, and a spiritual body. For us to feel comfortable in a space, all 4 of these layers need to be nourished and balanced. Here's an amazing part. Over the years, I've found that the spaces around us, the buildings, the structures, the rooms, they are able to tap into our physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual core beliefs. How does one take all of these and build it into a space? Well, there's really 4 principles of what I call life design. Life, L-I-F-E. L is for you look for the life force or the chi or the prana in our surroundings through the elements that we put in there. I is for our intention and purpose that we build into the space. F is to always, always, always follow your gut intuition. Finally, the E, express your unique character and your likes and your dislikes in your space. Now, as I look back to my experience as a little girl, as I walked into those homes, it's so clear to me the difference in those two homes. In the first home, the home of my uncle, who is an architect, in their home, they had lots of objects and items that they had brought in that had meaning to them. They loved the design, and as I recall now, they might not have been the most stylish ones for that time, but they had meaning to my uncle and my aunt, and they had very carefully, with intention and purpose, placed them in different parts of their house. I am so excited and so happy that you're joining me here, where we do share design tips. There's of course inspiration and ideas. We also share life design ideas. Stay tuned.